Hey guys, welcome to another video. So in this video I'll be sharing the reference material I use for my class 10th, some reference books, question banks, sample papers and previous year question papers. So let's get started. So starting with a question which I think most of the 10th graders would have, and even I had when I had started grade 10, is NCRT enough to score good marks in your CBSE board exams? Yes, it is. Now, when I was in 10th grade and I heard people saying that, NCRT is enough for you to score good marks in your board exams and only follow NCRT and all. So I was like, if it's just NCRT, why do people say that board exams are so difficult and all? But now that I've given boards twice, I have realized that yes, NCRT is enough for you to score good marks in your board exams. The questions in both term 1 and term 2, some of them were like line by line NCRT, and some of them were based on your understanding of NCRT. So even if you have any other reference books, make sure to read NCRT at least twice or thrice and then go to the reference book that you have. Don't neglect NCRT at all. I did that in 9th grade and I regret doing that a lot. So NCRT definitely should be your first priority, and only then you can move on to the reference books to practice questions. So these are some of the reference books that I used. For science, I used All-in-One from Arihant Publications. So yes, this book was quite useful. It has theory, examples, and a lot of questions. So what happened sometimes with me is that I used to read NCRT for science, but then the questions that came in the tests and papers, they were like completely different, and even if I knew the answer for it, I wasn't sure if that's the correct thing that you apply here. So to get that confidence, you definitely need to practice a lot of questions. So this book did have a lot of questions, and it also had the summary of the chapters. It had exam practice questions, objectives, fill in the blanks, true and false, assertion reasoning, match the columns, and then short answer, very short answer, long answers. And it had all the questions from NCRT, the book back exercises. It had NCRT exemplar and also previous year questions along with the answers, and then it also has experiment based questions for chemistry, and then it has challengers. The same for bio and physics, a lot of diagram based questions. So even if I focused more on NCRT for science, this book was also quite useful. These are the examples and questions from the electricity chapter for physics. And then there's this experiment section and the questions based on the experiments. Now, I did not really refer to this section a lot because we had to write the experiments in our lab manuals. So I focused more on the lab manuals. But yes, this section also might help you. Then it had the pre-midterm, midterm and post-midterm tests. It also had unsolved and solved sample papers. But again, I did not really refer to this section a lot because we already had a lot of class tests, unit tests, pre-boards and term 1, term 2 and all going on. But this section is also quite useful. Moving on to the reference book for math, R.D. Sharma. Now, the way it looks, it doesn't look used at all. And to be honest, I don't even remember if I used like 1/4 of this textbook because it has like thousands and thousands of examples for one chapter. I did not buy this textbook separately. I got it along with the book set from school. I mean, it is a really good textbook, but only if you're going to practice math the entire year, which I would suggest you definitely should because I did not practice math a lot, and then math was the subject to bring my percentage down. So if you see, it has quite a lot of questions. It has fill in the blank, short answers, long answers, MCQs, case-based questions, graph-based, diagram-based, previous year questions, a lot of questions basically. So if you want a wide variety of questions, this book is really good. But I think if you do NCRT, if you do exemplar, and if you do previous year questions, that's enough. You don't really need a reference book like this for math. Moving on to Hindi grammar, I had this Vyakran Darshika from Saraswati Publications. Again, I got this textbook from school, and we had the same textbook for both 9th and 10th grade, so I got this in 9th grade itself. This textbook has lots and lots of examples for unseen passages, for writing skills, for comprehension, and all the grammar topics that we had. And it also has exercises at the end so that we can practice the questions. It also had theory and a few mind maps, and also practice exercises at the end of every topic. You can see that it has a lot of examples. Even if you memorize like 3 every day, that is more than enough. And it also has chapter based questions, so yes, this book is also quite useful. For writing skills also, there are like 20 to 30 examples for each writing skill, which is also really good. Moving on to Hindi literature, I had all-in-one from Arihant Publications again, but I had the online PDF of it. Most of the times I only use this textbook for NCERT solutions and a few more extra questions. I know you can get it from Google, but sometimes I felt that the answers on Google were wrong. This book did have a little more complicated words, but it was still useful because it had a lot of questions. For question banks, I had these CBSE MCQ chapter-wise question banks from Oswal books. So I had one for math, I had one for Hindi, English, social science, and science. Because term 1 was MCQs, these books were really helpful. It had chapter-wise standalone MCQs, it had assertion reasoning MCQs, which I was always scared of, and then it had case-based MCQs, diagram-based questions, experiment-based questions. And I use these books for term 2 as well because MCQs do help you revise the concepts. Now, social science is a theory subject and you don't really have to practice sums and applications and all. So I did not really have a reference book for social science. I only did NCERT, but I had this question bank because I had no idea how term 1 was going to go, because for the first time we only had it MCQs. So like the other textbooks, it has standalone MCQs, assertion reasoning, and case-based MCQs. It also has picture-based questions and match the following questions. It also has map questions and previous year questions, and these cartoon-based questions, which are very important for democratic politics. For English also, I did not have any reference book. I only had this MCQ question bank. It had MCQs for unseen passages, for writing skills, for literature, for grammar. It had comprehensive passages, it had factual passages, and a lot of questions. For writing skills and grammar also, it was in the MCQ format because term 1 was completely MCQs. For literature, all the questions for all the chapters were from the CBSE question bank, which was available on the CBSE website. But if you would prefer like offline textbook more than online PDFs, then you can go for it. It has quite a lot of picture-based questions, understanding-based questions. Hindi also, it has MCQs based on the unseen passages, MCQs based on grammar, and MCQs based on the literature part. Some of these MCQs were like really easy, so if you have the Vyakran Darshika reference book, I don't really think you should go for this one. Even the literature MCQs were really easy. Like you can solve these MCQs even if you read NCERT only like once or twice. For math also, this question bank had standalone MCQs, case-based questions, and assertion reasoning questions. For math, it actually doesn't matter if it's MCQs or no, because even if it's subjective, even if it's MCQs, you have to solve the questions to get the correct answer. So yes, this book also had a lot of picture-based and figure-based questions. For previous year question papers, I had these CBSE 5-year solved papers from Oswal books again. This was with the reduced syllabus actually, and it had 7 subjects. And you might have seen me using this textbook in my board exams preparation videos. And this was one of the most used textbooks out of all these reference books that I had, especially for term 2. This was very helpful, and I have seen questions in term 2 directly asked from the previous year questions. So even if you don't buy any other reference books, I would definitely suggest you to go for this one. So it has English language and literature, it has Hindi course A, Hindi course B. I had Hindi course B, and it also had Sanskrit, social science, science and math. Also, CBSE has recently launched a Pariksha Sangam portal on the website, which has all the model answer sheets. It has model test papers and all, which will definitely help you a lot. So you can surely visit that. Alright, so this book has questions from Delhi set 1, 2 and 3, from outside Delhi set 1, 2 and 3, and these questions are really good, and there are chances that some of these questions might get repeated in this year's board exam as well. And it also has answers to all the questions according to the CBSE marking scheme, and also the detailed answer for every question. You'll also find diagram-based questions, picture-based questions, graph-based questions, experiment-based questions, activity-based questions, and a lot of questions based on your understanding of NCERT. It also has questions for both basic mathematics and standard mathematics. I had chosen standard, and yes, again, you'll find a lot of figure-based questions, graph-based questions and all. So this book was definitely the most useful book out of all the reference books and question banks that I had for grade 10. I got these sample papers for practice from a website called cbse.online. It had 30 sample papers each for 7 subjects. It had mathematics standard, maths basic, it had science, social science, English, Hindi A and Hindi B. So you can get a lot of references online as well. That is it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.